Hi, welcome to another episode of Bethany Talks About Stuff. I'm your host, Bethany F. DeVores, author of the Sea Adrastian Chronicles, available from Amazon. And today I have with me YM Nelson, also known as Yvonne, and she is the author of The Accidental Swipe, which is coming out tomorrow, available also from Amazon, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yay. So she is graciously agreed to be on my show so we could talk about her books, but also talk about one of my banes of my existence, online
Mhm.
dating. Online dating. It's
Yes.
so awful. Well, thank you for being on the show. What's coming out tomorrow is the accidental swipe, but we also have the star date, right? Which you get for signing up for the newsletter.
Yes.
Correct? Right? Okay.
Yes, you do
And
that.
then we also have the Owen and Michaela trilogy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
And Iman is also the host of the Nerdy Romantics podcast.
I am. I love that podcast because I get to talk about nerdy stuff and I get to talk about romance novels. And I know there are a lot of people out there. You're closeted, but you can come out
Come
now.
out, come out as romance novel lovers. It's okay. It is all right. Everybody laughs at me because I'm like, well, I read a lot of romance. I don't write it. I mean, technically, my first editor said the Sea Adrastian Chronicles are romances set in a fantasy setting, and I'm like, excuse me, no, it's a fantasy with a romance. But
That's
really,
you're
okay,
right.
it is. I mean, I like the romance. I'm not ever going to write a book without romance, I don't think, because I love the romance. So
Yeah.
I do. And that's the thing about even with video games, sometimes I'm like, if it doesn't have a good romance, I'm like, you know,
Right.
I mean, I can still
It's
enjoy
gotta
it,
have
but
that.
just like it's the stuff of life, man. So yeah, but I mean I read a lot of romance. Not as much as I used to just because I just haven't had time to sit down and read. I wanted to talk a little bit about how we know each other. So this is funny. Yvonne and I went to high school together.
Yes, we did. We went
Do
to
you,
high school together.
do you remember what you used to call me? Wasn't it like Cherry or something goofy like
Yes,
that?
yes,
Yes.
I did. I did. I used to call you Cherry. That is right.
Why?
And I'm glad you know what? I was about to pull out this book. Let me tell y'all.
Uh-oh.
So we have
Uh-oh.
been writing. No, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Okay, okay.
So Bethany and I have been writing since forever, but
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
wrote a lot in high school and we were like each other's critique partner almost. We would, you know, write something and we would read it and then we would make little notes on it. And I still have this I always say that, the name of my company my imprint is One Creative Summer Press. And the reason why it's called that is because one summer I sat that whole summer. I mean, it's the South and it's hot.
Right.
So I was inside the whole summer and I wrote a novel. So I brought that novel to school with me that next year. And
As you do.
Bethany and some of my other friends read it. And I still have that where you wrote like, comments on it or, like a review on it. It was good. It was a positive review. It wasn't
I'm sure
me
it
very
was because I am
great,
not
but
good. I would, especially back then, I was not good at constructive criticism. I would just be like, "This is awesome,"
yeah,
but
we were
I
we
probably
were
thought it
all
was
like
awesome.
that.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
But
I mean
yeah, I
that is
still
funny.
have
We
that.
did do that. We would write like I remember having like little folders of
Mhm.
printed like, okay, I've got 3 chapters. Here you go. I remember that
Yes.
we would pass them back and forth. Like other people were passing notes and we're like passing fiction. Here, I wrote
Right.
this.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what we did. It was
So
so awesome.
nerdy. So nerdy. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
See? And this is where it comes from.
And this is where it comes to. Like here we are.
Right. Exactly. This is how we became us.
Yes, absolutely. Well, yeah, because I started writing when I was like in third grade, and it was the worst drivel you could imagine. I mean, it was just a third grader writing a book, right?
You're
And
right.
I'll never forget my cousin and I, she's 2 years older than me. We decided we're going to write a book together. And it was just, I don't remember what the book was about other than for some reason, we wrote this scene where this woman's like, or this girl's like, my dog died, and I think that we fed it steak from the store, and it died. And
Oh
somebody said, "You
my
should sue
god.
the store that sold the steak. Sue the store that sold the steak." And to this day, every now and then, I'll just look at her and be like, "We should sue the store that sold the steak."
Right, exactly.
Oh, so bad. It was so bad.
That's
But,
hilarious.
Yvonne is releasing, The Accidental Swipe tomorrow, and so just tell us a little bit about it. I am reading through it now, and I'm liking it. I really like your main character, and I really like your, uh, extremely likable man. So I'll let you
Yes.
give us a little preview of what that's about.
So, this one is, as I say to a lot of folks, this one is Fortune's story. She's our heroine, our main character, and she is plus size. She is um almost 40. She's not 40 yet, but she's close enough. And she's got it together in her life except for this one area, her love life. And her best friend Louie is like, you need a date to my upcoming fundraising gala. And so he's like, you have to go on this site called Swipe Match, this online dating site called Swipe Match. At the same time, our hero, Jason, is basically a serial dater, a serial first dater, I should say. He's been on a lot of first dates in the past few years. He can't seem to find anybody, and he is in his 40s and he's ready to settle down. Everybody around him kind of is settled, or at least has somebody, and he is frustrated, ready to settle down. So his friends actually force him to go on this online dating site. So which is also Swipe Match, of course. And so that is where Fortune and Jason meet. But Fortune, there's a reason why her love life is the one area that she can't get it together in, because she has some past emotional hurt. And it's the same way with Jason. He has some past stuff that he can't get over. And so, even though they seem good together, they still need to get through their stuff
Right,
in
right.
order to realize that, hey, you're the one for me. And yeah, you're the one for me too. So, that's basically what the story is about, is getting over your past emotional hurt so you can see that the person that, you know, is for you is right in front of you.
I like Jason a lot.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you like Jason a lot, because
I
as
have to like the dude.
writers, as writers, we have our moments. And there was one moment where Jason was not coming across likable to my beta readers. So I'm glad that you like Jason.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I just
Yeah.
needed to beef him up a little bit more, and I needed to actually get into why he's so frustrated about his
Mhm.
love life. So once you kind of,
Oh,
and you see that in the very first kind of chapters or chapter
right,
of his,
right.
you see, everybody around him has somebody and he doesn't. And so it's like, hey, let's make him a little more likable. So
Well,
I'm
I am
glad that
liking
you
it.
like
Yeah,
him.
I do, I do. I got beta readers are so helpful, you guys, for
Oh
those of you who aren't
gosh,
in the know, like, they are so helpful that I
they're
got some
very
feedback,
helpful.
and one of my beta readers told me that Reese was too good, which is the main character in my series.
What? I
Too
didn't
good. She's like,
think
her life is
that.
too charmed. Well, because then I went back and made her a little less
Oh, okay.
good.
All right.
But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
we got.
You know what
Yeah, she's a little. She's tough.
she's
Yeah,
spicy, right?
yeah.
Like,
She
I think,
is.
yeah. So, and then, of course, my sister said, "Well, Reese is just you." And I said, "Reese is not me. Reese is who I would like to be." I'm not thinking like
Right.
there's no self-insert here at all. There definitely is a little bit, but Reese is like who I would like to be. I would be dead in about 10 minutes in Reese's world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like for me, it's kind of similar. Like Fortune is not me. I would say at this point she was me back when I was online dating, which we'll talk about. She
Yes.
was me at that point. So I'm not at that point at right now, but Fortune does have a few things of me, as far as personality characteristics. And I have a few of Fortune, like I have my purple nails.
I was gonna say, I like that. I liked that you mentioned her nails a lot, like that. And
Yes,
right now I'm bald nailed, but I love doing my crazy colors. So I was like, yeah, that's
I love
right.
them
I
too.
love the crazy colors.
That's
But
one
yeah,
thing that she is of me. She loves the crazy color nails, and I'm like that too. So
I
that's
love it.
one thing that's she's definitely, but yeah, she's not me.
Well, I definitely say, I have a contemporary sweet romance series too. Right now, I've only got one book released in it, but I have like first drafts of like three more books. And in all of those books, I will say there's a little self-insert, just that I always have something about that main character that I can relate to. Something about them
Mhm.
comes from my real life. It's not me,
Right.
but I want to be able to relate to my character so I can more accurately write them in a way that I think the reader will be better able to relate if I can relate. If I'm writing,
Exactly.
I mean, obviously we don't, the old advantage of write what you know, I think is actually kind of not realistic. Or we'd never have any fantasy,
Right.
like, and like, we
Right,
obviously don't.
exactly.
I don't live in Ceodrus. It's not a real place. So I wish it was,
Right.
but you got to put some of those human elements in, and the best way to do that is to put something relatable to yourself, so that when you broadcast that through your writing, it
Yeah.
comes through to the reader, and they can, it, you know, digest it
Connect.
better. Yes,
Yeah.
is a better word. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to totally self-insert. I don't like that necessarily, but
Yeah.
obviously this helps me write something. So I've one that she's a really good singer, which I just relate because I like to sing. And
Yes, and
I
you
do it
are a
at
good
church a lot.
singer.
Well, thank you. I do it at church a lot. I fill in when there's nobody left. And then I have another one who's an author, and then Reese is a gamer. So, that's a thing that I do. I gotta be honest, like, they have a little charmed story here. I have yet to have this experience in online dating. I have not met
Exactly.
a Jason, not even close to Jason. I mean, so I did a whole episode. I don't know
Exac
if you've seen it. I did a whole episode about my adventures in online dating, and
Yes, I have
I just
seen that episode.
I go through cycles. Like, I'm full of hope and optimism. This is the time it's gonna be different. And I make my
Mhm.
profile. I always try to be very honest in my profile. So I always put like a really flattering picture, but then I always have like a whole body picture. So there are no surprises. You can't be like,
Right,
I didn't know you were a big girl. I'm like, then you didn't look through all my pictures, because there's at least
right.
one that's gonna show you that I am a big girl. And I don't, and sometimes I'll even put one that's just not flattering. Like, it's not a horrible picture, but it's not necessarily
Yeah,
flattering, so I try to be really honest. So, not too long ago, I did this again. So I am, my faith is very, very important to me. So I try to use, apps that focus on your faith, so that you're connecting with
mhm,
somebody who shares common beliefs, right? And
right.
what was the name of the one I used recently? It was like Up Faith or Up, I don't know. It was hokey, and I liked it at first, but it just, like, kept giving me the same 4 or
People.
5 guys, right?
Yeah,
Over and over, and then I did start talking to somebody, and he would just go MIA for, like, 3 days, and then come back and go, "Sorry,
right,
things got busy." I'm like, "Well, we're at the point of talking where you can't drop a, like, 5-second note like, 'Hey, today's super busy. I hope to chat with you tomorrow.'" Like, I don't
right,
think I'm not asking for you to drop everything and talk to me for, an hour or something, but just a quick, "Hey, just let you know today's really busy, so don't take it personal. Talk to you tomorrow," whatever. "Okay,
right,
cool," or, "I'm out of town." Like, this week, I was at youth camp with my church youth, and I was gone from Monday to Saturday. And I was totally disconnected. I didn't look at my work email. I didn't really talk to other people. Like, I was really focused. But then you tell somebody, "Hey, I'm going to youth camp this week. I'm going to just be MIA, like, if it's
mhm,
urgent, reach out to me, whatever." But he would just, and then he was just like, "Oh, I don't know what, I'm not a ghoster. I don't ghost people." I'm like, you kind of are.
Yeah,
You kinda
exactly.
are. It was horrible. I just went through that all over again, and I still like, "Guys, please stop with these pictures. I really don't wanna see up your nostrils. I just don't."
Right. What is it with those pictures?
If I'm remembering right, when you were a while back, you were doing the online dating thing, you actually had a blog about it, didn't you?
Yes, so that's where this book kind of came from. Was I had a blog. I went on Tinder. Why would I go on Tinder? I don't know. Let's just put it up to naivete, because we kind of get what Tinder is not for a long-term relationship. But I will say part of the reason why I was on Tinder was because I had done all the other ones, right? At the time, there was Match. I had done that.
I've done Match.
I fell asleep during the questionnaire for eHarmony, so I never
Oh,
did
yeah,
finish
it's long.
that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
I've
gosh,
done them
do
all
you want
too.
my social security number too? I mean, what in the world is going
Right,
on with
right,
this?
they really do, and I
These
get that the
days?
idea is that they're gonna try to, like, really get to know you so they can match you well, but
Yeah,
I did it, and I didn't feel like it worked for me.
right, exactly. And so I think at the time, Tinder was the one that was left, the big one that was left that I hadn't tried, right? So I said, "You know what? I'm gonna try Tinder, and I'm just gonna blog about it and see what happens." And so I did, and I will say that whole series of blogs were the ones that got the most engagement on my site. I was talking
I
about
believe
other
it.
stuff, and people were like, "I don't care about that. I want to know what happened on the Tinder date."
Exactly,
I'm like,
exactly, yes,
"Okay."
yes, I mean, I'll admit, I was like, "What happened next?" Like,
Yeah,
how did that
right.
one go? Like, yeah, I mean, people are interested, that's the sordid stuff people wanna know, but you actually went on more dates than I did. I couldn't, like, I would get asked, but I'm just really super gun shy. So,
Yeah,
because I've had a couple of really bad experiences. So now I'm very cautious about sharing any personal information. But yeah, I've done all of them. Like, I've done Match, I've done eHarmony, I've done Christian Mingle, Coffee Meet Bagel. Have you ever done that one?
no, I
Coffee
haven't.
Meet Bagel is actually not bad. It's just some of it has to do with who is in your area too. In fairness to any dating
Yes,
website, like my
yeah.
area is just not great for singles my age. So it is what it is. So I always like put it Charlotte, like because I live in
Right.
Columbia. I like always put Charlotte because I'm like that's pretty close and it's got more people. But um, I also did Plenty of Fish. Did you
You
ever do
have
Plenty of
done
Fish?
Plenty of Fish?
I did it a long time ago when it wasn't
Okay.
quite as much of a hookup site as it is now. If
Yeah,
you
because
think
it's
Tinder is a hookup site, Plenty of Fish is just lost. I mean, that is all it is now. It is all it is. I did date a guy for a while from Plenty of Fish, and, it was not a good experience, and then, when we stopped seeing each other, I went back online and his ex had, like, hijacked his profile and put all this crazy stuff on there, and it was like, "If you've dated him, you need to be aware he's like this and then that," and I was like,
oh my gosh.
"If even half of what she says is true, I, like, dodged a bullet here."
Right,
Like
exactly, exactly.
and you never know because they'll lie, they'll make stuff up, so you really don't
Yeah.
know, but, yeah, that's the guy who, wouldn't stop texting me for, like, 2 or 3 weeks,
Oh
and I
my
told him
gosh.
things we took
I th
a break, and,
Yeah,
when he, like, started texting me again, I was actually not dating anybody at the time, and he immediately just went back to how things were back then. I'm like, "Look, I'm different, like, I've made some changes to my life and
right,
how I wanna live my life, and this is where I am now, and if that's not something that interests you, no harm, no foul," like, this
right.
I'm not you're really not talking to the same person you were, to be honest, and he just couldn't let that go, and when I said, "Okay, I think that we just want different things now, and so let's just call it a day." Um,
Yeah.
and he lost his crap. Like, he called me every name in the book,
Oh
like
my
yeah, like,
gosh.
all this is via text, mind you, and how I was stuck up, and I was more fun a year and a half ago when we went out before, blah, 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 like,
Oh
I'll
my
just say I was
goodness.
making bad decisions back then, and, like, I can't kinda came to my senses and said, "You know what? This isn't working. These are bad decisions, so let me stop
Right.
doing that," and, he was yeah, he went off, and then the last thing I wrote to him was I said, "Don't contact me again." Like, that's it. I'm done. And I've
Yeah.
learned that the more you tell like, if a guy is talking to you and you say, "Don't contact me again," and they keep on and you're like, "Stop writing to me," like, even that engagement is enough to kinda keep them going. So, and once I
Right.
say, "Don't contact me again," that I'm done. Like, you will not hear from me again. And, but he just kept writing. It was so, like, by, like, I don't know, an hour or 2 later, he was like, "I'm really sorry. I overreacted. I'm so sorry. Please give me another chance." Like, these text. And I'm like, buddy, you've shown your true colors. You are done.
Right. It's
No,
over.
thank you." And that went on for a couple of weeks of,
Oh my
like, every
gosh.
day, like, "I've thought about it. I'm really sorry. Please give me another chance. I can prove to you I'm not like this." I mean, it was, and he knew where I lived. So it was like really, it was uncomfortable for a while. And I was
Yeah.
finally at the point, my older brother, who's been on the show, is a lifetime law enforcement officer. Like, he's, as long as I, like, since I was a kid, he's been in law enforcement, and, he finally was like, "You need to just go file a police report. Like, this is
Yeah.
out of hand." And I
Exactly.
literally was like, "Okay, tomorrow I'm gonna go do it." And he finally stopped. But it was like the
Wow.
most creepy thing. "I will do," the last thing he wrote to me was, "I will do anything if you'll please give me another chance."
Oh
And I
my
was like,
goodness.
"Buddy, that's the creepiest thing." Like, yeah, it was
Yeah.
creepy.
We're not
Yeah.
we're not trying to see you on Lifetime, honey. No.
Mm-mm. And I'm like,
No.
Look, if we end up in a Lifetime movie, I promise it's gonna end up better for me than you."
Right? Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. But see, everybody, that lets you know that we are nice people, because she engaged in this and did not block him or anything. You're so good.
Well, okay, so there's an ulterior motive. I still have the name and number of every guy I've ever dated that I had in my phone. Like, I've never removed them, partly because this way I'm like, if they start to write me again, I won't be like, "Who is this?"
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I'll
right?
know who it is.
Right. I'll know.
I will
Exactly.
know.
I will know everything. I have one of those guys who is like every few years he will text me and out of the blue, and it's just like,
Mhm, mhm. "Hey, what's
what?
going on?"
How you doing?
It's like, you still the same person, especially because you still type in the same exact way you were when I stopped talking to you.
We're
Uh,
writers. We will judge you for
right.
this. Like,
But you know what I really hate is like, I hate when they will text you and they will, talk to you like nothing has happened. Like there's no reason why I can't just reach out to you whenever.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, no, there's a reason that we don't talk anymore. There's a reason why we're not together or we're not dating or anything like that. There's a reason for that.
Hi, Mike. Just saying that. My ex-husband and I, like, I'm very fortunate. We, very amicable. And every once in a blue moon, we write to each other to say, "Hey, how you doing?" I mean, that's really, I'm like, this works. I like
Yeah.
this,
But
just,
yeah, but
just
that's
making
a
sure you're
whole
okay,
different can of worms
But then you've
though.
got the one that's like, "What's up?"
Yeah, no.
And I'm like,
Right.
Nothing for you. Nothing for you."
Right. There's
Oh,
nothing up here. Just move along.
I think we have drifted off of online dating into just a dating in general.
Right, exactly. Which dating in general for somebody in their 40s is just hard.
It
And
is, it really is. My belief system is kinda like counterculture now, like, because I 'cause I'm pretty conservative and I'm a Christian, and those are things that are important to me. Like, for a friendship, we can have completely different views, and that
right,
is cool, right? I mean, that doesn't bother me at all. That's great. I like the back and forth, and, but when it comes to finding somebody to be my life partner, then we should share those type of views. I mean, that's where it becomes really
Exactly.
important. So,
Exactly.
but I'm such a oddball, like it's and then at my age, I'm 47 and I'm an oddball. So 47, if you have anything quirky about you, I mean, it almost feels overwhelming. Like this is
Right. It's
insurmountable.
I'm guilty of this too. Your tolerance level for what you will take in a relationship goes down
That's
because,
true.
and I think part of it is just because you know what you want. When you're in your 40s, you know what you want, and you don't want to play around with game. You don't want to play games
Mhm.
about it. You don't want to, you don't want to get on the hamster wheel with all this. You
Yes,
want what you
yes.
want.
I wanna be
Exactly.
realistic because we're all human and none of us are perfect, and if I'm wanting somebody to kinda overlook some of my quirks and things that could be improved, then I need to be able to overlook some of those things, but there are some core things that I think in our age, you need to have some of these things together. What I really hate in these bios, this kinda is taking me off on a little tangent, but what I really hate in these bios is when guys say, "No drama, please." And
Right.
I'm like, what bubble are you living in? I mean, do you think
Right.
you don't have drama? I mean, the reality of life is we all have drama. What you should say is, I hope you can handle it. Like, how do you
Right.
handle drama? Because we all have some.
We
That what
do.
makes the difference is how do we handle it? Do we cope well? Do we handle it in a way that reflects our age and our maturity, or do we flip out and have a meltdown? I personally choose to flip out and have meltdowns. I don't understand why this is a problem. But if you're not if you're not wanting drama, then you're not being realistic because that's just life. At
Yeah.
47, you're gonna have I don't care how touched perfect your life has been, you're gonna have something in your
The
life. That's just
world itself is just full of drama right now.
it is.
There's
It
just I
is.
mean, we just came out of a straight up pandemic situation. People are losing their minds trying to get on planes and go somewhere at this point.
I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real.
That freaked me out. I'm like, "What is she seeing?" Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Creeped out, creeped out.
Oh gosh. I mean, people are I mean, people's mental health it needs we all need help. Okay? We all need help. We all have issues. We all have drama going on. It's like,
Yeah.
that's why I wrote a romance novel because I just needed some happy at
Look,
some point, to be
I
honest.
get it, I get it, like, that's when I really need to retreat, I'm going to see Idris, right? Like, I am going to
Right?
write about Dag. Dag is not realistic, he is perfect, no human being can live up to that standard, so I have to remind myself, don't expect to find Dag in real life because there's
Right.
also no peace in real life either, right? Like, these are not real people, but it's
Right,
nice to, like,
exactly.
escape to that fantasy for a little bit,
It
like, as long
is.
as you can keep, perspective on it that this is fantasy, it's not how the world really works, then it's fun to do it for a while. I used to stay with my grandmother and she was a harlequin. She used to actually get the harlequin romances that would come in the mail like once
Right.
a
The
month or whatever.
subscription thing. Yes.
Yes, the little thin romances that were pretty
Yep.
quick. And she had her whole living room was all these bookshelves and they were all just Harlequin romance novels, like row after
Wow.
row after row. And like as granddaughters and grandkids, we'd go stay with her because she was older and kind of needed some help. And so we kind of take turns
Yeah.
staying there and stuff. And then at one point I was staying there so I could stay in the school district and all, well, whatever. I was there a lot. And so I was bored. And so I was like, Grandma, can I read some of your stuff? Yep. So I would just go pick up a book and start reading. And in
Right.
retrospect, maybe not the best at helping me understand the realities of life because I
Right.
like it does set this high standard. I have a friend that's like, she said she had to stop reading romance. She started putting these high expectations on her husband that just weren't realistic or fair.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I could see that. I could see that.
It could
Uh,
happen. Yes.
Right. Actually smart to say, I'm gonna take a break, so I'm not expecting, fantasy out of a real flesh and blood person who is a good person. She's like, "He's a good husband, he's a good man, he's a good father. There's nothing wrong with him." he's good. I'm lucky, but I was putting the standard on him that didn't make any sense. So just like we don't want guys to put that standard on us, that's not realistic to be a size
Mhm.
2, to, be perfect. And we kind of have to, that has to kind of go both ways. So
Yeah.
I was like, that really makes sense. And then I went and read another romance novel because I don't have a
Exactly.
husband. So
Right. It's like, yeah, this is my indulge time, I'll deal with the real world later. But I think too, for me, part of that is why I like making my heroes like as real as I can make them, but then as not really. Like Jason's a construction worker, right? He's not a billionaire alpha dude. He's just not that dude. Um, and he's gonna have, and he's an emo. I mean, his people nicknamed him, his friends nicknamed him emo because he's got emotional
I did
issues.
I did like how he kind of even acknowledges it at one
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
He's
he
like,
does.
"Yeah, well, this is how I am." I'm
Yeah,
like,
and so it's like I need a little bit of that to ground me, but at the same time, this is fiction after all. So,
"He sounds beefy." I liked him. I like a beefy guy.
yeah, he definitely is. So, my thing is always and I don't know why, but for some reason I attract very skinny guys. A lot of times short guys, but I'm short, so it happens. But I attract skinny guys all the time, and I'm just like, interesting that this is happening because this is not these are not necessarily the guys I'm attracted to, but they're
Yeah.
attracted to me, and I don't understand why. I had a theory on that when I was younger, but I'm not going to talk about that. But
What? Now
but
you're gonna
I just
tease it
need
but not tell us?
well, my theory, and this all kind of goes back to kind of where I was during, well, before, but kind of how I went into the whole my Tinder series kind of thing is I had this theory that, you know, the guys, the smaller, skinnier guys who were attracted to me wanted like a kind of a mama figure kind of thing because
Oh,
I'm a
I
bigger
could actually see
woman.
that. Mhm.
Um, I'm not outspoken, but people feel that energy, I guess, sometimes from me. I don't really have that mama vibe, and I don't have kids, so I don't know where that comes from. But I think for some reason, I'm giving off that mama vibe, and they're like, oh, a nurturer.
I could see that. No, I could see that
Yeah,
actually.
you see what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so,
And you have
and
such a friendly and warm, inviting face, like you have a real friendly
oh,
and warm
thank
smile.
you.
I could see that. I could see that.
Because I've had, guys talk to me about my looks and some of them not so nice. I'm not going to discount somebody because they're, skinny, right?
Right,
Because
right.
I've had people, talk about me being plus size. So I'm not going to say, hey, I'm not dating you because, I'm not a mean girl. I'm just not that.
You can't sit with us!
So getting back to the dream guy or to the, the guy that, may not be out there, that guy I envision him to be a big, tall guy. I might not be able to wear his shirts like a sleep shirt, but he's gonna be a big, tall dude. He's gonna be,
Right, right.
he's gonna be a beefy dude, just like you said. And so that's kind of how I've always envisioned Jason. And that's how, from the very beginning, that's kind of how I envisioned him. But I wanted to make sure he was not tall and muscly. Just because, he's a fictional guy and a, fantasy kind of guy, it doesn't, I feel like he needs to have a little bit of realism to him. So at 40 something, um, you're fine. And 40 something, he's not gonna have that, looking like a bodybuilder kind of whatever. He
Right,
works in
right.
construction, so he's gonna have that. But the dude drinks beer and he likes sweets. So, you
That's
know,
why I like him. Like, he's
so he's
he's
not
more
gonna have an
realistic.
8-pack. That's not gonna happen.
Right, right. I mean, I kinda like the dad bod, like, it's
Right?
real. It's like, these are
It's
real people,
real.
like yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. A little
I,
little more
I'm
guy to squeeze, that's all. I
right.
like it. I like
I,
it.
I'm like that too. I'm like, this is who I see, right? So that's kind of where he came from, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the Tinder guys I went out with, but getting back to like what we were talking about with the online dating and how that went out, I found out a lot of things about me at the time, and um part of that I had to work out through this book. And I noticed, they tell you not to read reviews, and y'all don't read reviews.
It's
I
hard,
don't know
it's hard.
why, I don't know why I did, but of course I read some reviews. And some of the reviews, mention like insecurity, but then one another podcast friend who I wanted to, read the book and tell me what she thought. She got it that that Fortune was making some bad choices. she
Yes.
was she was
Yeah,
not
I
making
have
good
gotten far
choices.
enough in that I'm like, "No, stop, stop, stop,
Right.
stop.
Stop. Don't
What are you
do it.
doing?" I'm actually, like, mad at her right now, like, "What are you doing?" Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And the reason why I wrote her like that is not for her to be insecure, but actually because I was at that point while I was, and that's what, to me, that's not who I was, but that is what online dating kind of does to us. Like when we're in that online dating headspace, it makes, it taps into, and social media does this too,
mhm,
it taps into some of your insecurities and some of your, is this not happening because it's me?
mm,
and
yeah,
and then everything else gets kind of amplified around you, so whereas we've always seen skinny women on media, magazines, on TV, on movies, we've always seen that, we've been inundated with that, but we've overcome that. But sometimes when you get online and you're in that space, it all comes back down on you and you see kind of everything that
yeah,
media has been telling you that you're not,
yeah,
you know?
and yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, so that is the headspace that I was in when I was online dating at the time. And part of it is because you're on Tinder, and of course, again, naivete. Tinder is all about the hookup, y'all. But until when you're about the hookup versus about getting to know somebody and being in a relationship, you're looking at somebody in a more superficial way.
Sure.
And that's what kind of headspace I ended up being in after I was, I went on a few dates, it didn't work out. And I had a few very disturbing like how you had a few very disturbing conversations. I had a few very disturbing conversations as well. And I was like, this is tapping into, I thought I had gotten to this point where I was like, I am okay with my size. I am okay with being a Black woman in a world where Black women are not always, whatever. And I was okay with, with me. And I found myself not exactly okay with me,
Yeah,
even though I was hanging out with guys who I just didn't click with, or meeting guys who were just superficial. You know,
Right.
not everybody, not every guy online is a bad guy, obviously. It's sometimes just this is not the person for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of get through that when you got all this going on inside your head. And so you're making bad choices.
You do, because you can really get in your own head and
Yes.
mess yourself up.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what you're saying. Like, like I want to lose weight because my health is not great. Like I went to this camp last week and I had trouble keeping up, and it was because I'm just out of shape. But I
Hmm.
think you can love yourself and still want to lose weight for your own health, right? So in
Exactly.
my head, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me in the sense that I love myself and I think I'm attractive normally in my rational mind, right? But then you get
Right.
online and, you're either attracting these crazy people or
Yeah.
the people you think, wow, that profile looks great. They're not interested. So then you start thinking, well,
Yeah.
is it me? Like,
Right.
I'm also this fear, and I'm just being really open here, and really transparent. I've always had this fear in online dating that even though I've tried to put a very honest picture of how big I am, that I'm still gonna meet that person in person and then be like, "Oh, no, I wasn't prepared for that." And that's
And
like that awful feeling like I can be okay with
yes.
me and be still worried that you're not gonna be okay with me, and then
Yes,
it's gonna be so
exactly.
awkward. It's gonna be so awkward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That is exactly how I felt every time I went out. That is exactly how I felt. And a lot of times, what I would do is I would try to preface it, right? And when you're texting back and forth, or you're having your conversation before you go out, it's like I would, really say, hey, I
Just wanna
am
make sure
plus
you
size.
understand.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. It's like I want to preface it, and the thing about it is, if it was any other platform or any other way that you're talking to somebody, you would never do stuff like this.
No, you are
You would
absolutely right. I would
never.
never go into, like, a professional workplace, like, "By the way, I'm really big. So before we
Right.
come on your client site, I just wanna make sure you understand this." You wouldn't
Right.
do that.
You
But
would
the
not.
other thing is, this is where I hate that we're not meeting people organically anymore. Like, that's just
Yes.
ideal because if you meet somebody organically, they're looking at you face to face. They know what
Yeah.
you look like. There's no
Right.
there's no hiding. There's, like, hoping everything goes okay when we meet in person. Like, you're
Right.
already there. So,
Yeah.
I do have to tell you this. So, I believe in therapy. I've done therapy for years. My therapist did finally fire me when she decided to retire. And she's like, "I might have taken advantage of you a little bit by letting you continue to come when you really didn't need to come." But I was like, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? So,
Right.
but she was like, "Bethany, I just really feel like what you need is a matchmaker. You need to do an old-fashioned matchmaker, somebody who actually gets to know you, gets to know the other
Hmm.
person, and they can better assess whether they think you're gonna mesh or not, as opposed to this impersonal, AI kinda stuff."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, maybe blah, blah, blah." Well, there is a matchmaking service, and I won't say the name of what it is, but they had, like, a promotion. I heard about them. I saw an ad or something. I thought, "You know what? What the heck? I'm gonna just put my information in and see what happens." So I actually set up a consultation. And they know what they're doing, right? So she goes through this whole thing. It did sound great. Like, we get to know you, we get to know the
Hmm.
other person, and we have
Hmm.
multiple conversations so we actually really get to know your personality, not just your bio, you know. And then we have a better idea and everything's really safe, because they keep all your personal information really safe. And then
Right.
even when you go on your first date and all that, and they curate all of that and they set it up and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm getting really excited. Like, well, yeah, like, this is good, this is good. And then, I said, "Well, look," and they know what they're doing, so I kept trying to break in, like, "Well, how much? How much? How much?" Right? Because I'm getting ready to set up, like, a Patreon or something. Because 'cause I'm like, "I need to start recouping some money for all this equipment," right? So I
Right.
like, "So you need to tell me how much this is gonna be." So finally, I was like, "Look, just stop. this sounds great. I think your service sounds wonderful. How much does it cost? For 12 dates, like a guarantee we're going to set you up on at least 12 dates,
Mm-hmm.
$10,000.
Oh, what?
And that was their 30% off sale. We're running a special right now,
Oh
30%
my
off.
gosh.
10,000. She said 10. And I said, 1,000? She's like, yeah, 10,000. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I genuinely got depressed after that because I had
Ah,
gotten so excited. Like, this is
yeah.
my therapist was right. This is a much better way. Cause in the past it would
Yeah.
be you knew somebody. Hey, I have a friend that you might like. And I know both of you guys and y'all would probably get along really well. And somebody would set you up, you go on a date with them, and that's how you would meet people. But it just doesn't happen anymore. That
Yeah,
just
it
doesn't
does.
happen. So I'm like, this is like what it used to like how you used to meet people. And so then when I was like, there's no way I'm coughing up $10,000 for 12 dates. I'm just not
Mm-mm.
going to do that. I don't
No.
have it, even if I wanted to. I couldn't make
Right.
that happen. Like I'd have to
It's
sell my house
not.
and live in a shack.
Right? And then it's like, oh, we thought you were in a house. Wait a minute.
Right. What
Like,
happened? Yeah. So
this is not what we were advertised to get.
yeah. So how bad is it then? So I went to youth camp and I'm like, all right. I'm looking like every adult male that's there. I'm like, ring, 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 ring. I'm not going to meet anybody here. I got rings, like,
Yeah.
and they were laughing at me. Because one of the counselors was talking about, well, these kids, they come in and these are the camp staff that works there all summer. And they're like,
Mhm.
these kids come in, they're middle school kids. And they're like, hey, what's up? Can I get your number? And they're like, no. First of all, it's illegal. Like you and I would be
Right.
illegal. And secondly, and then she's like, who comes to camp thinking they're gonna meet somebody? You're just gonna go you probably live in other states. And I was like,
Right?
I'm thinking, okay, I'm at church camp. A person who's volunteering their time to bring youth to youth church camp probably has at least similar values to what I have. They might not
Yeah.
be crazy gamers like me, but at least there's something there that we would have in common. But
Exactly.
I did fight against the whole helping with youth for years, so I'm not sure. They probably are nicer people than me. I got roped in. Like the youth pastor we were part of the praise team. And the youth pastor's like, I'd like to have live music for our youth. Would you be willing to come do that? I'm like, but I'm not staying. I'll come sing and then I'm leave. I'm not staying for your lesson. I don't want to join that. That was years ago. And now I'm like going to youth camp and stuff with them. Yeah,
Exactly.
you get dragged in and
Exactly.
stuff.
You got
I'm
roped
like,
in.
yes. And then I ended up doing VBS this year. Like every year they ask, will you help with VBS? I'm always like, no.
No.
I don't even
But
make
now you
excuses. Just no. No, I don't want to. Don't like kids. I don't like kids. And then the pastor's wife really made fun of me this year. She's like, look at you this summer. You're helping with VBS, going to youth camp, being nice to the kids. And I'm like, I'm off my game. That's all. I'm just off my
Right.
game.
Exactly.
I don't like all this touchy-feely, cuddly stuff. But yeah. But yeah, so I thought, well, this would be perfect, and no. I don't know if you have this because you have a real welcoming face too, but people tell me stuff. Do you ever have
Yes.
that? Like I've been in a grocery
Yes.
store standing in line and people just blurt out like really
Just say
personal stuff. And I'm
things.
like,
Yes. Exactly.
okay, thanks for
Exactly.
sharing. I hope you do okay.
Oh
I do.
gosh.
Yeah. Cause you have one of those faces too. So I was like, I
Yeah.
was betting you probably did.
It's funny that you say that, right? Because Saturday I went to a grocery store and just picking up a few things, and I still wear a mask. Part of it is because I have so much other stuff going on that I'm scared I might actually get COVID. And even though I'm vaccinated, I may actually have to be out of work for a little while, and that would be devastating for me right now because I'm in the middle of this really busy time
Right.
at work, at the day job. So I was still wearing a mask, so half of my face is covered, and yet
They
The
still.
cashier is telling me about
Oh,
her
man.
husband and about how he likes salad and and it all started because I had gotten some non-food stuff. Like you get your toiletries and your air freshener and all that other
Sure.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that stuff is expensive these days. I mean, yes, food is expensive, but that's really expensive for some
It
reason.
is. It is.
And absolutely none of it that I got was on sale. Cause I was like, I'm holding my rewards card and nothing got taken off. I said, wait a
I
minute.
that's the
Are
worst
we in the
feeling.
twilight zone? I
Like, why
mean,
do I even have this stupid thing?
but anyway, she was talking about, how expensive it was. And, again, I'm genial. But I guess because you can see my eyes, maybe I just have, you know, happy eyes. She just took it and ran. I mean, she was just going off about it. And it's because, we have these faces.
We
We're
do have these faces. We
yes.
do. We do. I have learned to accept it. And then it makes it even worse that I'm a talker. So then the minute
Yeah.
somebody starts, I'm like, I just hop right on that train. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna be here for half an hour. I called
Exactly.
I called one of my coworkers is actually a northerner, right? She's from New York. And so she called me to ask me something work related. And I'm like, I'm gonna let you go. Like we talked about it. I said, okay, I'm gonna let you go. And then 15 minutes later, I was like, okay, for real, I'm gonna let you go now. And I
Right?
said, I'm sorry, you're getting a southern goodbye today, whether you like it or not. And
Exactly.
that means you got like another 15 minutes. So just buckle up, buttercup.
Hold on to your butts.
The youth pastor at our church cracks me up because sometimes we'll have to talk about stuff on the phone. We usually text to avoid this sort of thing, right? But
Yeah.
every now and then we actually just pick up the phone and say, "Okay, I just got to talk to you." And then we have that trouble with the Southern goodbye, and he's like, "Look, Bethany,
Yeah.
I'm Southern too. I get it. Like, I'm
Right?
contributing to the
We just
madness.
do
It's
this.
okay."
Exactly.
I think that's partly why people think we're so friendly is because we're from the South. Like, I mean, originally from
Yeah.
Ohio, but I grew up down here and I only went to Ohio back for high school for like 2 years. And then I came back down here and I've been here ever since. So I consider myself Southerner.
Yeah.
Some Southerners wouldn't, but I am a
You
Southerner.
are.
I
You
am.
are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to the fold.
I appreciate it. But Southerners tend to be friendly. We have friendly faces because we're used to being like, that's how you're brought up.
That
You
is.
meet, I said, Mom, what do I do when I'm like walking in the hallway and there are people coming the other direction? Now it's really awkward. She's like, you meet their eyes and you smile.
Yeah.
That's what you do. That's the polite thing. And you say, hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm currently completely off of all the online dating right now. I like within the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. I do the cycle, like, I'm get
Mhm.
excited, I join up, and I'm like, "This is gonna be great," and then I'm on for a while, and it's horrible, and then I take my profile down, and then, like, 6 to 8 months later, I'm like, "Well, this is how we meet now, so I'm gonna try again," but I am at the point in the cycle where I'm like, "No."
I am at that point as well. It's like I realize that there are times where I I'm that person that likes my alone time. I'm okay being with other folks, but I have that moment where I get to a moment where it's like, okay, this is draining for me. I need my alone time. And I'm okay with that. And if I can't find a person who can give me that space, that would be I would be so miserable. And so I like kind of where I am, not to say that I can't do a little better with somebody else. But I need that right person, you know? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
I feel like I need that right person, so I'm not really I'm kind of at that point where I'm not at the no point. There was a point where I was just at the no point. Like I
Mhm.
don't even want to entertain
Not
this.
even worth it, yeah.
So I'm not at that point at right now. But I do realize, I think now more than I did when I was doing the Tinder thing, that I want to find someone who is more compatible with me versus, I want to go out and find somebody, which that was kind of where I was at that point. I was like, I'm gonna go out and I need to go out and find somebody. I'm in a good space, but I need somebody. I need to find somebody. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, this is not the place where I need to find somebody. And and B, I realized what I was really looking for was, I was looking for at that time, which I'm always looking for this person, but I'm looking for an activity partner. But that was like a priority to me at the time. So really what it was about was going out and going on the dates, not necessarily who I was going on the dates with. It's just I didn't want to go out by myself.
Right, right. I can see
No.
that. I can see that. Yeah.
And so that was really prominent, for me at that time. That was really a big deal for me, was um I want to do stuff and I don't want to do it by myself. But
Sure.
now I think, and then of course after that it was just like, no, I'm done. I'm done with being out there. But now I'm kind of on that upswing where it's like, I think, I think I kind of am looking for somebody, but we're not gonna push it right now.
Right.
So I kind of started thinking, yeah, maybe I'll go out and maybe I'll try, because um Hinge was not out when I was doing Tinder, I don't think, and Bumble was not out.
Yeah, a lot of people
But
seem to like Bumble. I've been hearing good
yes,
things.
and yeah, so I'm just like, maybe I'll try those, and maybe I'll say something about those on my blog. Who knows what's gonna happen? Like Bethany, I'm super busy right now.
Like, I don't have time to breathe.
That's another thing. Actually, kind of getting back to what you were saying about the guy who was like, every 3 days or something, would just like ghost out. And it's like,
Disappear. Mhm.
sometimes people just don't know, or just don't see. They want somebody in their life, they want to date somebody, they don't really value that person. So it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do
Right.
that at this point. So, me being really busy, I don't want to get into online dating again and then be that person that just says, I don't have time for it, you
Yeah,
know?
sure. I mean, I think that's fair. Something I recognized in myself recently too is I'm like, I have this standard that I have for guys, like what I'm looking for in guys, and I start thinking about, well, where am I? Right? So
Yeah.
I decided, okay, instead of focusing so hard on finding a dude, why don't I focus on making myself maybe a higher standard, like bringing myself to a higher standard of where I need to be. Like,
Mhm.
someday I'd like to get remarried. So think about, what would I bring to the table as a wife? And that might sound kind of, I don't know, antiquated in today's society, but I think about what a guy would bring to the table if he were my husband. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's only fair to be like, well, what do I bring? And I don't mean like, well, I got a
Mhm.
house, or, like what value can I bring to a relationship in general? Just like I think about the value I bring to even my friendships. For my friends, well, I try to be supportive and funny, and I can be vulnerable with them, but I try to make sure they feel like they can be that way with me. Like
Right.
that's what you do. So I think a relationship that might eventually turn into a marital relationship would then need to be even you need to be thinking about that even more, or at least in my
Even more.
opinion, for me,
Exactly.
right? Like that's even more important. So
Yeah.
I've been really thinking about that, and trying to find areas where, like, where could I do better? And that's something that I recently told a young man. I'm trying to remember what the context was, but I remember saying this, like, instead of focusing so hard on what you want from a woman, maybe focus on yourself for a while.
Yeah.
and improving yourself, not like focusing on yourself to the point that you're not thinking about other people, but just like,
Right.
what can I do to improve myself? You
Right.
know, so
Exactly.
in a healthy way. And so that's what
Yeah.
I've been trying to do. And it's hard though, because like you said, right now I'm so busy. I feel like I just don't like this last couple of weeks in particular have been very busy because of camp. But I had a lot of other stuff going on too. And then immediately came back from camp and got sick. So back today was my first day back
Oh,
to work. My
yay.
coworker called and I was like, "What?" She
Oh
was like,
my
"Well,
gosh.
that's not good." I'm like, "No, it's
Right.
really not. It's really." So, but you have to think about that too. Are you going to be able to make the space?
Right.
What you said is a very valid point. If you know that you're going to have to every couple of days be like, "I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now." I mean, are you able to make the space for somebody in your life? I like to think I would be able to do that. Like I would carve that space out because I
Right.
have to be very intentional. Intentional.
Yes.
I don't know what was happening right there. I have to be very
That's why we're
intentional.
writers, people. That's why we're writers.
Like we look it up. We look it up. Spell check. I still have a beef with Stephen King for saying if you have to use a thesaurus that you're not a very good writer. Did you know
Yeah.
that he said
I
that? I'm like
I did not know he said that. I know he doesn't like adverbs, but other
I'm like,
than that.
get over yourself. I
Right,
I don't use
exactly.
it all the time, but every once in a while I'm like, look, I need a different word. It's fine. Um but I have to be really intentional even with my friendships. Like they're busy, I'm busy, and if I want to make time for my friends, I got to figure out how to carve that time out. It doesn't always our lives are different than they were when we were 25 and we didn't have all
Right.
these responsibilities. And so if you want to keep those relationships alive, you have to make that happen. Well, same thing, of course, with the romantic relationship. So you have to decide where is it something I'm going to be able to prioritize as that relationship deepens,
Yeah.
and as in hopefully, I think most of us are like, I think you and I are dating with the intention of a long-term relationship to marriage. So
Exactly.
you have to be
Yeah.
able to say, well, that's where I'm going. So can I make that happen if it were to happen?
Right.
So, and I think I could. I mean, I do feel like I'm at a place where my life is pretty hectic, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility of making that happen. But it's a struggle. It's a real
It
struggle.
is.
It's a thing, especially like I said, at our age, life is so much different than when you first were dating in your 20s or whatever, or earlier. Not for me, but for other people, maybe earlier.
Yeah. For other people as well. Yeah.
Which reminds me, my very first like serious boyfriend was also very tall and skinny. Just bringing it full circle. Just bringing
What
it full
is
circle.
it with the skinny too? Okay,
He
anyway.
looks like Laurel and Hardy. I'm just gonna say.
Oh
Half the people
Lord.
watching this are not gonna know who that is. Look it up. Google it.
Exactly. They won't
Just
know,
Google
but
it.
yeah, we get
It's
it. All good.
I like
Google it. You're close enough to Google. You can do
you can
it.
do it. I mean, my plan had been to take this, and trim it down. And with an interview, I don't edit as much as I do when I'm doing, say, a video game review or a movie review or something, because it's just like the organic
Yeah.
discussion. But I usually will try to trim for time. And now I'm looking at like I'm thinking about all the stuff we've talked about. I'm like, I don't know where I don't know because
Have
it's all
fun with
so good.
that.
We've had really good. Oh, it's hard. I am really, really glad we were able to make this happen. We ought to just talk more often.
We really
Like it doesn't
should.
have to be for an interview. But in the meantime, so today is the 24th. Your book releases July 25th tomorrow.
It is. I
So
have it
yay.
here.
It's always exciting to get that
It's
hard copy though. When you get your
it
proof copy,
is.
like it's
Oh my
it's
god.
always like, "Oh, this is really my book. It's an approved copy. It's awesome." So I'm
It's
very
so
excited for
amazing.
you. I'm very excited for you. I'm
Thank
enjoying the book
you.
so far. If you're a romance, so audience, if you're a romance person and you like a little spicy romance, this is good. I think you'll like it. Um, it is for adults.
It
It is
is
for
it is
adults.
definitely for adults, and yes, it definitely is, as they say in the romance world, it is open door. But I am not a person who puts a lot of curse words in books, mainly because, yeah, my family's still around and I'm not trying to hear that.
Look,
My
I
mom
feel like
was
I
the
might have
first copy. Okay. My mom
yeah,
got the
yeah.
first copy of it. So no. Um but um but I'm sorry, Jason and Fortune, they just wanted to open their door. So that's what ended up happening. Um
That's why I say I
and
write
yeah.
sweet romance because I like my church folk. I don't
Yeah.
like for lots of reasons, but one of the reasons is, my church folk, and I think about with my podcast, with my channel, I should say, I think about, some of the youth watch this, so try to be
Yes.
mindful of that. But I get it. So that's why I just put the little disclaimer,
Disclaimer.
it is a
And
mature romance.
yes, it is a mature romance. It is for adults. I mean, these people are in their 40s, but that means nothing. But it and two not that it really has any major trigger warnings, but there are some trigger warnings because I know there are some folk who are a little bit sensitive to a couple of things in this. And so those trigger warnings are on my website as well, ymnelson.com. And if you look up the book, you'll see the trigger warnings. You'll see a button for the trigger warnings. So that is there. But it is available on, can I say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Oh,
just gonna say,
okay.
tell us where you can find it.
Oh yes, so it is ebook is available on Amazon right now because it's in Kindle Unlimited. But it will be wide soon, okay? It won't stay in Kindle Unlimited. So for those of you who like Kindle Unlimited, get it now because it won't stay there. The paperback is available pretty much everywhere, and as I always say, if you cannot afford the book and you want to read the book, please request it from your public library. I am a big proponent of public libraries. This
Mhm.
book, half of it at least, was written in a public library.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and so I am really big on public libraries, and it is available for them to purchase. So if you can't afford it, ask your public library for it.
Mhm.
You can get the paperback right now and the ebook. They'll be able to get the ebook very soon. So
Awesome.
that's that.
Awesome. The Accidental Swipe is available, from Amazon and other retailers, the paperback, and, we can find your podcast where?
Podcast is anywhere that you get your podcast. It is there. It is also, all the episodes are on nerdyromanticspodcast.com. And this book, if you can't find it or don't know where it is, my website is ymnelson.com.
Awesome.
So that's a
Perfect.
good place to start.
Wonderful. Well, I'm really glad we were finally able to connect and do this. Thank you for
I'm
being
glad
on the show. You
too.
guys go check out Yvonne's website, podcast, book, all of the good things you're supposed to do. Leave us a comment down below about your adventures in online dating, and
Yes.
hopefully you've had more success than us.
Hopefully so. Hopefully yours is more like a Fortune and Jason and not like a
Right.
YM Nelson.
Or Bethany F. Divorce. So leave us your comments down below. Let us know what you think. If, of course, like, share, subscribe, all the stuff you're supposed to do on the internets. And otherwise, that's it for now. Bye.
Bye.